I'd like to call the December 12th County Board meeting to order, the hour of 9:45 having arrived. The clerk will call the roll.
Allen? Allen?
Deb Allen.
Auger? Ferrero? Dahl? Davist? Fraz? Gillum? Hernandez? Hoshite? Ishmael? Kenyon? Kazarik? Leonard? Lewis? Martin? Molina? Sanchez? Shefflo? Smith? Silva? Sterrett? Thomas? Wegman? Winicki?
Okay, we have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge or remain standing for the prayer. I'd like to ask zoning staff member Tony Ferrugia to come to the microphone to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you would remain standing, please. I'd like to invite Mark Van Kerkhoff to come to the microphone to lead us in prayer. I just would like to mention how fortunate we are to have all of our staff members, but this morning I'd like to recognize some work that Mark has done in building relationships throughout the northern region of Illinois. We had a very important appointment that needed to be made to the Chicago Area Growth Initiative Council. And because of his deep relationships with many people, we were able to ask a person who will represent Kane County very well. So it's building all these relationships that's so important to optimizing the performance that comes out of the board's work. So thank you very much, Mark.
Good morning. Thank you. And Tony is the newest member of our team. We don't do anything upstairs without a great team, and he's our newest member. So thank you for those kind words. Would you please join me in prayer? Dear God, as we gather here this morning, we're so grateful for the ability to do so. And as we meet on this last day of the year, we're so grateful for the many blessings and things that came into fruition, for the people that we met and worked with along the way, the great residents and business owners and educators and people who contribute to our communities. We ask for wisdom in the decisions that are made today, and we ask your blessing upon the efforts of this group and all of our communities in the next year to be a blessing to young and old and everyone in our communities. Amen.
Amen. Okay, I'd like to welcome and thank everybody for coming this morning. I would also like to welcome our state's attorney, Joe McMahon, for joining us today. May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for the November 14th, 2017 meeting? So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Ms. Allen. Are there any thoughts, comments, adjustments? If not, all those in favor of approving the minutes say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. This morning we have three presentations of our transportation partners, and I'd like to start out with the Regional Transportation Authority fiscal year 18 budget presentation. Mr. Don DeWitt is going to lead us through. Our Kane County representative who does a sparkling job of his responsibilities. So, Don?
Thank you, Chairman, and members of the Kane County Board. It's a pleasure to be with all of you again this morning as we meet our annual obligation to bring you up to speed on what's going on at the RTA. I also want to take this opportunity to just thank all of you for your recent reappointment to the RTA Board. I appreciate your confidence and support. We'll continue to do our best to make sure our revenue dollars paid into the RTA bucket come back to Kane County in reinvestment. I currently sit on the Budget and Audit Committees, so I do get a fairly good view of financial issues at the RTA. And continuing a theme from last year, I would suggest that we are all victims, if you will, of the recent budget process in Springfield, along with the fact that the state budget cuts nearly $200 million out of RTA funding going into 2018. The state of Illinois currently owes the RTA nearly $460 million in past due sales tax revenues and free and discounted ride reimbursement. And that delay is this year going to cost the RTA nearly $5 million in short-term carrying costs to borrow the money to make up for the shortfall that's having problems getting out of the state coffers. So I know we are all in the same boat. It's all relative. Every public entity in the state of Illinois is dealing with this issue. And I'll use the chairman's words, Chairman Kirk Dillard of the RTA, who described the process of now taking 2% off the top of all of the revenue that flows into the state of Illinois to cover expenses to allow the state to appropriate those dollars back to each and every public entity in the state of Illinois. To use Chairman Dillard's words, it's unconscionable, and I couldn't agree more. And I know Leanne Redden, our executive director, is with me today. She's going to drill down a little bit on some of those numbers. There was some good news out here in Kane County as far as the RTA is concerned. The RTA board recently appropriated $3.2 million to Kane County to help fund the Ride in Kane program. Additionally, RTA planning funds were made available to a number of communities. Elgin is redeveloping their historic tower building in their downtown. They were the recipients of a $100 million grant from the RTA for TOD, or transit-oriented development, in their community. And Geneva has been appropriated several grants to fund smaller TOD projects here in the city of Geneva. There's ongoing signage improvements being made at several transit centers throughout the region, including Aurora Transportation Center and Elgin. And probably a shining star for Kane County this year, it actually commenced last December, is the Ride on Shoulder program, which allows, in Elgin, which allows PACE buses to ride the shoulder of Interstate 90 between Elgin and O'Hare. It's growing immensely. It's following the track that our Ride and Shoulder program in Will County has followed. And I understand PACE is already looking for additional parking to accommodate riders who want to take this service. With that, I would like to turn the presentation over to the Executive Director of the RTA, Ms. Leanne Redden.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. Thank you, Director DeWitt. I will be very brief. I have to cover a couple of quick statutory obligations regarding the regional budget. And you're going to hear from PACE and TJ Ross in a few minutes, so he can talk a little bit more about PACE's specific budget. But really, it is a pleasure to be here today. I know we're always here around the holiday season, so I thank you for your time. You should have received electronically, and I have extra hard copies of the full page of the budget. I will leave these to be available for you, which really dive into more details on the budget numbers. As Director DeWitt alluded to, the state of Illinois, while it was a great success to get a budget passed, finally in Illinois, it did lead us with some financial challenges, a cut of about $100 million for 2017 and a similar cut expected for 2018. So that presents some really challenging some challenges for us and the three service board operators, CTA, Metra, and PACE. So I know you've already heard from PACE's, Metra's leadership, and I know TJ will speak in a few minutes to talk a little bit more about their budget details. But suffice it to say that one thing that I think has been a success for all of us this year, that even with these challenging times, we have been able to work collaboratively and collectively, all four agencies, to come together to distribute, I think, effectively and reasonably the limited funds that we have to advance all of our to advance our budgets and really come up with a balanced regional budget. And I think that's really critical because the transit system, while some people might take it for granted, carries more than 2 million people each day. And that's a lot of cars that won't be on the roads or in front of you, even if you never get on a bus or a train. So I think that that's an important thing for us to think about. In terms of the regional budget, the 2018 expenditures for public transportation for northeastern Illinois are expected to be $4.1 billion. This amount includes $3 billion in operating expenses across all three operators and $1.1 billion in proposed capital investments. The agency, the RTA as an agency, is a very small slice of that, and our proposed budget represents just 1.1% of the overall regional budget. Turning to the capital side, we have prepared a 5-year capital program for 2018 through 2022. The funding in support of the regional capital program totals $4.158 billion over the next 5-year period and advances projects that replace, rehabilitate the rail and bus fleets, improves guideway infrastructure, and renovates passenger terminals and stations. These projects help move the transit system across the entire region towards a state of good repair and will really help modernize and enhance the existing infrastructure that we have, and more importantly, incorporating new technologies and other passenger improvements and amenities. I will say, though, we are advancing all these projects with zero state dollars in the capital program. As many of you probably know, we have not had a state capital program since 2009, so essentially that translates to about a $500 million shortfall, additional shortfall from the state of Illinois towards our capital program that we cannot rely on. The final thing that I just have to touch on briefly is every 5 years, the RTA as a region with our 3 transit operators are required to produce a strategic plan. That plan is due, and we expect to actually have our board approve that in January in 2018. We've spent the better part of the last year at the staff level working on doing research and developing policy and analysis to come up with a draft strategic plan. We have spent the last 6 months of this year engaging people across the region, stakeholders, agencies. I know Kane County officials have participated in some of those activities as well. We are also concurrently holding a public hearing right now. We would encourage you to stop by if you have a chance at the end of the meeting to provide any comments. Likewise, we also accept comments through our website, and we can accept comments on the strategic plan as well as the regional budgets through the next few days. The strategic plan, as I mentioned, is a 5-year program, so we hope to adopt it in 2018. It'll really allow us to join forces and talk about really what our core focus right now is investing in capital infrastructure, and that's really what our focus has to be over the next 5 years, really to help us address the changing demographics, the limited funding, and other challenges that we face across the region. It'll really help serve and guide the day-to-day operations of each of the service boards and really meet the passenger needs of our growing and large, diverse region. The plan is available, as I mentioned, online through December 31st for comment at our website, rtachicago.com. We're holding public hearings, as I mentioned, in the auditorium, and RTA staff is there now. We can also receive comments through Transit Strategic Plan at rtachicago.org. if you chose to email those to us. And I would encourage you, though, going forward to continue to follow us on, we have a blog, we have Facebook pages, and our Twitter accounts as a way to kind of keep track of some of the activities that we have. With that, I would be happy to entertain any other questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Leanne. Any questions for RTA? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just an observation on that Illinois budget. You know, when you hear numbers like $100 million reduction for the RTA this year and again next year, also remember how much is being taken out of your paycheck each month now, or each pay period now, in a 32% increase in the income tax, the state income tax. If my memory serves me properly, that's approximately 3 to 4 billions of dollars. So that's 3 to 4,000 millions of dollars more that's going to Springfield. So in the old days when they cry poor, it's just, they have 3 to 4 billion dollars more. And so when a Kirk Dillard, who served for 18, 20 years, 22 years in the Illinois Senate, did a lot of work on budgets. When he says unconscionable, it's unconscionable. So also, I just wanted to also recognize that Don DeWitt, as you know, former mayor of St. Charles. Speaking of former mayors, but current mayors, we have the longest serving, and that's his service is exceptional to the people of Batavia. Jeff Schelke, if you'd come forward to speak about the PACE fiscal year 18 budget presentation. It's wonderful to have you back again.
Thank you. It's my honor to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity of being appointed by the county board to represent the county and the PACE board. I'm joined today by T.J. Ross, our executive director, and Marty Sandoval, who is the Kane County staff person, or the PACE person who represents Kane County and the day-to-day operations. So they're both here if you have any questions. Not to repeat what's already been said by our leadership at the RTA, obviously PACE has been impacted by the financial adjustments that have been placed upon us by Springfield. We have not raised any fares on the PACE system since 2005 in the suburbs and 2009 in the city. And this year, because of the reductions that we've faced, the board had to come to grips with the idea that we had to come up with some revenue. So we raised the fares 25 cents. And there was really a great reluctance, I'll tell you, on the part of any of us on the board to even do that. But we're in a situation, and I don't need to repeat what's already been said. We are very pleased with the Ride in Kane program that we have, which most of you know services the senior citizen community and the handicapped folks. We continue to have good success with that, and we have a good ridership. We use it constantly. It's a call. You call up and schedule, and we show up at your doorstep and pick you up and take you and bring you back. And there's a lot of people in this county that really use that service, so that's one. The other one that's already also been reported is this new ride on the shoulder thing that we're going to do on I-90 from Elgin into Rosemont. That's the route. And so there's several stops along the way, and we find now that there's a lot of people in Kane County that want to stop at Barrington Road or Meacham Road, which is where we stop as we go toward Rosemont. We bring you to the Rosemont Transportation Center, and there you can either then get on a CTA train and go down the middle of the Kennedy Expressway to downtown, or you can get on the other shuttle that they have that goes into O'Hare Airport. And we are finding that there's a lot of Kane County residents that are now, if they're in the south end of the county, they're driving to Elgin, looking at our bus schedule, when the buses, and they take their luggage, they get on the bus and they go into Rosemont, get off at Rosemont and go into O'Hare Airport. And you can do that for a little, just shy of $3. You can do that whole ride. And if you hire private transportation to bring you in there, you're paying a lot more money than $3 to ride into O'Hare Airport. And you can reverse that and come back out. So that's a real interesting situation that we've got going. The ridership on that route is increasing by 20 to 25% a month as people find out about this. And we had the same experience down in Will County on I-55. So Kane County's got a lot of ridership that's really utilizing this. One of the things I'm hopeful we're going to be able to do here in the near term is we're going to have a special day when we're going to invite all of you as county board members, any of you who would like to come and just see how it all works. We're going to have you meet us at Elgin at this park and ride, and we're going to take you into Rosemont and bring you back, but you'll be able to see how the bus on the shoulder works and whatever. We've been a little bit reluctant to do it because there's still been construction going on some of the service, and this coming week we're going to have a dedication of the new park and ride over on Route 25 in Elgin. So we've got some stuff that's still been put into play, but I'm hearing from, I just talked with Mayor Captain from Elgin, and he was telling me he's getting a lot of very favorable comments about this service, and I've talked to several of the North End mayors that have been very supportive in sharing it on. And I just also, before I get done, I just want to pay a word of tribute here to the staff at the Kane County Department of Transportation. They're kind of our middlemen here, if you will, between the cities and the RTA and specifically PACE. And we've had outstanding cooperation from this Kane County staff. And so Carl and Tom and the group really do some day-to-day workings, and if there's a glitch in the system, they help us work it out, and we get things done. So under your leadership here as the county board, you've got a staff out here that is really doing a truly outstanding job for the citizens of the Kane County. And I would say that goes beyond the transportation to other agencies that I deal with as the mayor in Batavia. Kane County's got a top-notch staff here, and I give you and the chairman a lot of credit for assembling this group of people, because other counties I serve as the chairman of the Council of Mayors at Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, so I get to talk to a lot of other mayors from throughout the region. In a lot of places, I don't hear the compliments that I think we get in Kane County. So to all of you, I take my hat off for a really terrific job. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Mayor Schulke? If not, thank you very much for all your help. Okay, next on the agenda, we have presentation of Sheriff's Office, K9, is it Dakar? So Sheriff Kramer. Welcome, Dakar.
Well, thank you for allowing me to do this presentation today. I thank the county board for allowing my officer here to retain ownership of the animal. Dakar's been around for quite a long time, and I have a proclamation here. Whereas K9 Dakar has been steadfast and loyal member of the Kane County Sheriff's Office since November 9th, 2009, and whereas K9 Dakar has located illicit drugs over 160 times. He has helped in locating over 500 pounds of cannabis, 20 kilos of cocaine, 2 kilos of heroin, 600 grams of methamphetamine, 100 grams of psilocybin mushrooms, and 2 grams of LSD. Whereas in addition to aiding the detection of harmful drugs, K9 Dakar has helped in locating multiple felons and evidence, whereas the Kane County Sheriff's Office has deemed it necessary to officially retire K9 Dakar, and whereas a retired sheriff's canine has no saleable value, it would be unsafe and inappropriate for the possession by the general public, and whereas it is the policy of the Kane County Sheriff's Office to donate the retired canine to the handler for the sum of $1, and whereas the donation allows the canine to live out the remainder of his days in the handler who assumes all responsibility and care. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Kane County Board and the chairman thereof authorizes Sheriff Donald E. Kramer to donate K9 Dakar to his handler and fully recognizes and supports his service to the citizens of Kane County and gratefully authorizes this retirement from service. Once again, Mr. Chairman and board members, thank you for allowing us to turn over Dakar to his handler, which is Terry Hoffman here. I have one more plaque here to present to, actually, Dakar. He doesn't know it yet. He'd rather have a dog biscuit, probably. In recognition of his faithful and dedicated service, we wish to express our deepest gratitude for your 8 years of faithful and loyal service. A trusted partner and friend, he will be missed by all. Presented to Deputy Terrence L. Hoffman, December 12, 2017. Hopefully you don't mind taking a little photo out here.
While these pictures are being taken, several things. Let's see. I guess that there is a resolution someplace. Can somebody help me? Is it at the end? 17,395.
Sure.
Okay, so under Judicial Public Safety, I would like to ask for a motion declaring the retirement of K9 Dakar of the Kane County Sheriff's Office. So moved by Don Ishmael, second by T.R. Smith. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. By the way, a little historical background on Officer Hoffman. Back in 7th grade, the fellow who was the smartest and most handsome guy in our Holy Angels 7th grade class, next to Bill Leonard, was Terry Hoffman's father, Terry Hoffman, who went on to be a pharmacist and did a very good job. His father had such a good jump shot. You know, Bill was really a scrambler. He was very fast on his feet, so he hustled up and down the court very fast. But Officer Hoffman's father, and I still see it in my mind's eye, had the best jump shot, so much so that after seeing that jump shot, most of us just retired from the game of basketball. So congratulations to Terry, and say hi to your dad for us. Okay, that's the Charmin Short program. Do we have any speakers on agenda items? If not, we'll go to the resolutions and ordinances. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Mr. Sanchez?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 17-401, 402, and 404 together.
Okay. Any others? Okay. If not, I would like to have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 17-395, which has already been passed, and then 17-401, 402, 403, and 404. No, not 404. Oh, yes. Oh, excuse me. Okay, got it. So that is 17. The Long Meadow Parkway items are 401, 402, and 404. So may I have a motion so moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Mr. Hoshite. Clerk will call the roll.
Ellen? Auger? Yes. Barrero? Yes. Dahl? Yes. Davis? Yes. Franz? Yes. Gillum? Yes. Hernandez? Yes. Hoshite? Yes. Ishmael? Yes. Kenyon? Yes. Kazarek? Yes. Leonard? Yes. Lewis? Yes. Martin? Yes. Molina? Yes. Sanchez? Yes. Silva? Yes. Smith? Yes. Sterrett? Yes. Thomas? Yes. Wegman? Yes. Winicki? Yes. Motion passes.
Okay, motion passes. Now, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially pass 17, 401, 402, 404. So moved by Mr. Dahl, second by Mr. Franz, and I believe Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have anything new to add in my opposition to the Long Meadow project, but it's another opportunity to vote no, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Mr. Franz.
Yeah, I would just like to mention that all three of these have to do with Long Meadow Parkway, but two of these are fairly large contracts for construction. And with these two contracts, it will essentially take our construction of the road portion right to the riverbanks, essentially on both sides of the river, leaving the bridge contract for next summer. So it's a lot of progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other thoughts, comments? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Ellen? Aye. Auger? Yes. Barrero? Yes. Dahl? Yes. Davis? Yes. Franz? Yes. Gillum? Yes. Hernandez? Yes. Hoshite? Yes. Ishmael? Yes. Kenyon? Yes. Kazarek? Yes. Leonard? Yes. Lewis? Yes. Martin? Yes. Molina? Yes. Sanchez? Yes. No. Okay. Silva? Yes. Smith? Yes. Sterrett? Yes. Thomas? Yes. Wegman? Yes. And Winicki? Yes. Motion carries.
Okay, motion passes. May I have a motion and a second to approve, first of all, number 17405, authorizing contract for health insurance broker. So moved by Mr. Leonard, second by Ms. Allen. Mr. Leonard, if you'd rise to outline this is authorizing contract with health insurance broker.
Yes, this contract that I would ask the board to consider approving today is hiring this group to do the audit and the review of our health insurance plans, which include the health, dental, and vision. We had a meeting last week, within the last 2 weeks, with this group Alternatives, And they have come up with a number of different options for us to look at in improving our health insurance program, including the dental and vision. At this point, what we are asking for is approval for 1/4 of their services, which would be $24,000. The reason for that is we can't do a whole year at this point yet, but we'd like to try it out for 90 days and then get approval for the other 9 months sometime before the end of March. This would cost the county $24,000. However, in the next resolution that we're going to be looking at, I think we can more than justify the expense for the full year for this approval. Are there any questions? A 3-month period, January, February, March.
Other questions or comments? Ms. Sterrett?
Mr. Leonard, this actually would, and part of what you already said as well too, but I just wanted to make sure it was kind of conveyed that this is something that's really going to help us because we do have to pay an awful lot for our health insurance, which is incredibly important, I know, to not only the board members to make sure that our staff has excellent coverage, but this is a way to make sure that we're getting the very best deals that we possibly can and actually helping our people that work here, correct?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Sterrett. I couldn't have said it better. You know, I was originally a little bit concerned about looking at an outside firm to audit and review our health, dental, and vision. And what I found at the meeting that we had was there are substantial improvements that we can make to an already good plan. You know, I'm very happy to say over the last 2 years, we've realized literally millions of dollars in savings. However, I think we can still improve upon that, and for us not to look at other options would be foolhardy. So I think this money, even though it's only for a 3-month period, our intent is to get it approved for the full year. The full cost for the year would be $96,000, but for this 3-month period, it's $24,000. And I can guarantee everybody on the board that the savings will far surpass what we're spending here, maybe to a multiple of anywhere from 3 to 10 times.
Other, Ms. Thomas?
Do I need to stay?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So I see that this item is not budgeted, and there's no explanation of the funding source. Where are the funds coming from?
Well, you know, yes, actually, Ms. Thomas, the funding isn't there right now. However, the savings that we're going to appreciate this year will more than offset the cost, and that's a guarantee.
Okay. And I do support this, but I'm wondering when were our health plans last reviewed, and who was doing it prior to this new?
You know, 2 years ago, we did a pretty thorough review when we decided to go with Gallagher and IPBC on the health. They also handled the dental and the vision for us. What this initial 90-day period is for is really to implement some of the options and changes they're recommending on the dental and vision. And the next resolution, I think, will give you a better explanation of why I think it's worthwhile for us.
Okay, any other thoughts, comments? Oh, Ms. Molina, would you rise, please?
I noticed it didn't go through the normal committee flow. So my question would be, was there an RFQ or an RFP submitted? How did we come across group alternatives? How did that come about?
Well, initially, what happened was we agreed to have an audit done of our health, dental, and vision system. And at that time, when the initial audit was done, they reported back to us that they felt that there were some discrepancies where we could save some money. So originally it was approved to have them come in and do the audit. I think initially the cost was $27,000. Now what we're looking at is an annual contract at $96,000.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? Ms. Hawker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The question I have for you is what kind of savings are we going to see, and how do we know that we're going to have these savings, and what are the levels of service going to be? Because if this is going to be charging our employees a lot more and they're going to be getting a lot less, that is a concern of mine.
I think it's very good. point you bring up, Ms. Auger, and we looked at that, and what we have found is we have guaranteed savings, as I said before, that will far exceed the cost of this service agreement. And what I have also done is we've done a little research on some of the other firms that they've done work for, namely Indian Prairie School District. They've been doing work for Indian Prairie School District for over 5 years, and they have saved Indian Prairie School District literally millions of dollars over that 5-year period. I don't know the exact amount. I think it's somewhere between $3 and $4 million. They've done a very good job. They've also worked with the city of Aurora. So this is a group that's been around for a number of years. They've done an outstanding job for everybody they work for. And what I like best about their contract is they tell us that if we don't like what they're doing, we can cancel it at any time. They have given us a 3-year rate guarantee, but we have the right to cancel at any time. And I can guarantee you this first year, if we approve this 90-day agreement and then the additional 9 months, it will amount to us spending $96,000. And I can guarantee you that we will save more money than that already, with the potential to save multiples of that.
Okay, thank you very much. And just for the record, it is not a case, as you mentioned, of getting less for more cost. It's actually getting the same coverage for less cost. So literally,
Yeah, no additional cost to the employees. In fact, there will be a little reduction.
Okay, Ms. Barrero.
Thank you, Chairman. I will be a no on this. I would have liked to have seen this prior to our budget discussion last month, and there was a lot of, as we all know, we had to get rid of our GPS monitoring, and I believe the cost of that, this would be $100,000 towards that. So I will be a no on that, due to the fact that it did not come before our previous budget discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Barrero. Ms. Sterrett.
Sorry, I don't usually say too much. So one of the things that I've actually done some research into this, and I actually agree with their points. I think they're very valid and very good, what not only Ms. Auger mentioned, but also wondering, and the question, but then also Ms. Barrero as well. I think very good questions. One of the things that maybe we haven't, or hasn't been expressed yet, but it's important with insurance companies that you're able to negotiate with them to help out with premiums, with a lot of areas. We have a very large company here, and I hope I'm not divulging anything, so stop me if I am, but basically we should be negotiating with these large insurance companies. And the negotiations that we've had so far at this point have not saved us enough money. There is an awful lot of money that is left on the table at this time that this company who does this for a living will actually be able to help us to recoup, and so that we will not have any paying out such a large amount. We know our premiums are incredible, like I think at one point they were $15 million. But this is a way of doing this. Yes, the layout to begin with, and I am 100% behind exactly what you're saying, you know, finding out this information, but this is a very important way, and this is what we deal with and I deal with in my personal life on a regular basis, is that we need to make sure, and Mr. Leonard does as well too, making sure that we are receiving the best rate, but it does not change coverage for our employees in any way, shape, or form. And so that is the key element. That's one thing that this company would be able to do to help us to negotiate that, so that there would be no coverage change at all. And in fact, we've had that discussion. I talked with Ms. Wetzel about that, and that is the important thing. There is no intention of changing anything for any of our employees at all with that regard. It is only savings of money, which is the negotiation of the contracts, which all of you that are in business negotiate contracts on a regular basis, and this is what this would be.
Thank you. Yes, the other point I'd like to make is, you know, spending this amount of money, it's a big consideration. I totally understand your concern, Ms. Ferrer. However, I think when we can exercise a contract that will literally save us money more than what we're spending, it's worthwhile. I do understand, your concern not knowing about this sooner. We didn't really have the report done before we passed the budget, so that's why we weren't able to present it. But I think there is a sense of urgency in that we can do this effective January 1 and save the county, a tremendous amount of money. In our next resolution, I'll try to explain a little bit more in detail how that works.
Okay, any other thoughts? Ms. Wonicky?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One last question, Mr. Leonard. Is Group Alternatives, are they located in Kane County? And if not, do they have a branch in Kane County?
They're located in Downers Grove, I believe. And I don't know if the people that work for Group Alternatives live in Kane County or not. I'm not sure of that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Silva?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be voting no. I do believe that there are these types of programs do tend to limit health care options. The savings could be substantial, but I do think that there is a loss in the ability of people to make choices in their health care. Sometimes what I've seen, specifically in Indian Prairie, what I've seen is that providers are tiered. So your particular provider might be tiered at a point where you still have the benefits, but your provider might be in a tier where you have very limited options. Thank you.
Dr. Silva, I think that's a great point. And what we did is we went to quite a bit of research to make sure that there is no reduction in coverage for the people. So in this particular situation, there won't be a reduction in coverages or in plans or in networks. Not to say that we may not recommend that down the road somewhere, but at this point, it's basically related to the dental vision coverage.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Silva. Ms. Silva.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for pointing that out. So that is important to me going forward. That is something that I will be asking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Ellen? Aye. Auger? Yes. Guerrero? No. Dahl? Yes. Davis? Yes. Franz? Yes. Gillum? Yes. Hernandez? No. Hoshite? Yes. Ishmael? No. Kenyon?
Yes.
Kazarek?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina?
Yes.
Sanchez?
Yes.
Silva?
No.
Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Wegman?
No.
And Wonicky?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, motion passes. Number 17406, may I have a motion and a second? So moved by Mr. Leonard, second by Ms. Sterrett. Mr. Leonard, would you rise and present 17406?
Yes, with respect to the last resolution being approved for the hiring of this group to help us with the auditing and review of plans, this is their very first recommendation that they made that we would like to implement immediately. In fact, beginning January 1st of 2018. What we would like to do is both the dental and the vision are not in the IPBC, the pool that we have the health insurance coverage with. They are separate carriers. It's Guardian. And we would like to make a change from Guardian to Cigna for the dental and iMed Vision Care for the vision. We've reviewed the plans. The plans are virtually identical. They can go to the same sources they went before. And what this will appreciate for the county is, number one, the employees are going to get a little discount in their contribution that they make every month on the dental premium. The vision is paid for by the county, excuse me. And the savings for the dental will be about $101,000 a year. And on the vision, which we pay and the employees don't pay anything on, there will be an additional $23,000 to $24,000 in savings. We put it all together, we've got about $124,000 to $125,000 savings for the year, just on the dental and vision coverage. And if we approve down the road the other 9 months on the contract, we'll spend $96,000 to appreciate that $124,000 savings. I do believe that down the road we will have some options on the health insurance to save additional monies, and I'm talking about substantial amounts. But until we review that and go over that, and that's why we need the time to do that, we won't be able to present anything to you until probably sometime in March, I would guess. But I think it's an excellent program for us. The county saves money, the employees pay less for their dental coverage, and everybody wins on it.
Okay. Comments, questions? Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Nikki.
Let me ask, is there I do have the Guardian dental plan. I went to the dentist last week. He pulled my tooth. I want a big molar tooth, 4 roots. And as it came out, I didn't realize those roots reached down into my wallet. And it ended up costing me over the $1,000 limit the Guardian pays for the year coverage. Is there a higher coverage with the Guardian plan? I mean, with the new plan. Right.
We haven't looked at that. What we've done is tried to duplicate coverage. We're not improving coverage, but we're not taking coverage away, but we are saving $101,000 a year.
Now, what about the participants? Are they going to benefit from this?
Well, the participants, their monthly contribution will go down.
Okay.
I believe it's about, I think I saw 8.8% savings.
Yes.
For the participant.
Yeah, and there's a couple of options there too, but they will save money on their contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Ms. Wojnicki?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do the in-network providers change?
No, we looked at the in-network providers and we were assured that over 95% of the providers currently the Guardian has, the new plan does too. So I think we're in pretty good shape. There may be 1 or 2 instances where someone will have to make an adjustment, but generally speaking, over 95% are the exact same.
Okay, other comments, questions? Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a question specific to this plan, but in regards to this and the previous vote, I just would have liked to have seen a little information ahead of time. I know it didn't go through the committee structure, but even some kind of PDF presentation sent to all of us so that we can consider some of these pieces of information a little more in detail before this vote would have been nice.
Mr. Sanchez, I apologize for that. We should have sent something out to everybody. We just had the meeting, I think it was last week, and I neglected to do that, so I apologize for that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Ms. Auger?
Is the coverage still the same?
Yes.
So if there was a $1,000 deductible, there's a $1,000 deductible, and
deductibles are the same, co-pays are the same, the annual limit's the same, everything's virtually
all the same coverage?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any other thoughts, comments? If not, I would also like to put on the record an expression of appreciation to Mr. Leonard for bringing forward a net $100,000, gross $125,000 savings, net $100,000 savings for the taxpayers of Kane County, and I'd appreciate a yes vote by our board for saving money. Clerk will take the roll.
Allen? Aye. Auger? Yes. Barrero? No. Dahl?
Yes.
Davist?
Yes.
Fraz?
Yes.
Gillum? Yes. Hernandez? No. Hoshite?
Yes.
Ishmael? No. Kenyon?
Yes.
Kazarik?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Martin?
Yes.
Molina? Yes. Sanchez?
Yes.
Silva? No. Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Wegman? No. Wojnicki?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, the motion carries. Again, thank you very much. Number 17407, may I have a motion and a second to accept obligation due the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund for Willie Tyler in the Sheriff's Department? So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Ms. Allen. Any thoughts, comments? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Allen? Aye. Auger? Barrero? Yes. Dahl?
Yes.
Davist?
Yes.
Fraz? Yes. Gillum? Yes. Hernandez? Yes. Hoshite?
Yes.
Ishmael?
Yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Kazarik?
Yes.
Leonard?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Martin? Yes. Molina? Yes. Sanchez?
Yes.
Silva? Yes. Smith?
Yes.
Sterrett?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Wegman?
Yes.
Wojnicki?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Next are appointments. First, the Mill Creek SSA Advisory Board. May I have a motion and a second to approve the appointments to the Mill Creek SSA Advisory Board? Reappointment Jeff Dinkelson and Barry Studeman, and their terms would expire on January 2019. So moved by Mr. Fraz, second by Ms. Sterrett. Any thoughts, comments? Ms. Gillum? I think that by expiring January 2019, looks like it may be 2 years from now until January of 2019. Although I may be mistaken on that. I can find out. So, or maybe if, let's see, does someone, let's see, would that be Mark? Is it 14 months? Oh, okay. 2 years. It is a 2-year? Okay. So 2 years. Okay. If it matters, we'll follow up with real precise information. Any thoughts, Mr. Fraz?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that both the Mill Creek Advisory Body and the next item, the Mill Creek Water Rec District, all of these individuals are currently on the board. They were recommended by myself to the chairman. They have knowledge appropriate to their boards, and I'm very happy that they're all willing to serve another term.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other thoughts, comments? Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not opposed to the appointments. I just want to be on record about the process regarding appointments generally. It's my understanding that appointments come through different committees, but there are a lot of positions, a lot of dates to keep track of. And I know I've heard similar concerns from colleagues that we perhaps need to centralize the process in terms of just information, deadlines, so that we can be fully aware of what positions are opening, so that the process, we can be more inclusive. The board can be have a greater role in contributing names and comments to these appointments.
It's an important point. I appreciate that. I'm going to ask Mark Van Kerkhoff, who helps along with Scott Berger, and then some of the appointments come through the transportation, so Carl Shadle, and some come through Don Biggs in facilities. But we've started the process of, I mean, for the last 4 years, they've been put onto websites, and we can get some information. Did you want to clarify your question?
Yes. Will County has an excellent example of how to centralize their board and commission appointment process. It's all in one place. And so we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. We could use their example as a guide.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Mr. Van Kerkhoff to give us just a real brief summary of the transparency of the process. Then we'll go to Mr. Leonard, where previous suggestions along that important line, and I appreciate the specific of Will County having a good system that we could learn from. And then I'm going to ask Mr. Leonard for what might have occurred in one of the standing committee meetings going exactly in the direction that you're speaking of, Ms. Thomas. So, Mr. Van Kerkhoff.
Thank you. Yeah, a quick history. Prior to Chairman Lawson, there was no comprehensive list of all the boards, commissions, and individual appointments that went through the county board chairman's office or were available to residents and constituents to even volunteer for or let themselves know what they might be interested in serving for the county. So phase one worked with all the different department heads in collecting what all appointments and commissions were available, referencing state statute and people on the commission, and that list has been up on the website for quite some time since Chairman Lawson took office. Sort of phase two is in process right now, thanks to Sylvia Wetzel and our IT department in terms of having a process. I'm not familiar with Will County's, but having an online form and application process and a better way to track in terms of all the dates and expirations and everything. So as a staff person, I would agree with you, there's room for an improvement. I'm happy to say that it's in process. It's going through the Human Resources Committee.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And then, Mr. Leonard, did you want to add anything?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to reiterate what Mark had mentioned, and I would specifically like to thank two of the county board members, Ms. Thomas and Ms. Gillum, who have really pushed this process ahead. We took a look at the policy that we had, which was cumbersome and outdated and quite honestly not very effective. And so Ms. Thomas was nice enough to get the policy from Will County. I think we've also taken a look at the policy from DuPage County. So in the Human Services Committee, thanks to the pushing of Ms. Gillum, we are revising that, and we will have something in the next few months for everyone to review and decide if it would work better for them. So once again, I think your point is well taken, Ms. Thomas, but I'd like to thank you and Ms. Gillum for pushing this policy forward, and we should have something within the next few months. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Any other thoughts, comments? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Allen? Auger? Barrero? Dahl? Davist? Fraz? Gillum? I'm sorry? Okay. Hernandez? Hoshite? Ishmael? Kenyon? Kazarek? Leonard? Lewis? Martin? Molina? Sanchez? Silva? Smith? Sterrett? Thomas? Wegman? Winnicki? Passes.
Okay, motion passes. Next, Mill Creek Water Reclamation District. May I have a motion and a second to approve the appointments to the Mill Creek Reclamation District? Motion's made by Mr. Frost, second by Ms. Allen. Are there any questions, comments? If not, clerk, call the roll. Oh, excuse me, and naming those people in the record is their reappointments. Ben DeAndrea, expiration July 2018. Mark Hammond expires June of 2019. And Jim Doherty expires December 2020. With that, the clerk, call the roll.
Allen? Auger? Barrero? Dahl? Davist? Fraz? Gillum? Hernandez? Hoshite? Ishmael? Kenyon? Kazarek? Leonard? Lewis? Martin? Molina? Sanchez? Silva? Smith? Sterrett? Thomas? Wegman? Winnicki? Passes.
Okay, motion passes. Next, the Emergency Telephone System Board, the Kane County ETSB. May I have a motion and a second to approve the appointments to the ETSB? Those are namely Kurt Kozarek, Eric Passarelli, and Mike Fagel. All those expiration dates on terms are July 2021. So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Mr. John Martin of the bow tie. Yeah, exactly. So any thoughts, comments? If not, clerk, call the roll.
Ellen? Auger? Barrero? Dahl? Davist? Fraz? Gillum? Hernandez? Hoshite? Ishmael? Kenyon? Kazarek? Leonard? Lewis? Molina? I'm sorry, Martin. Molina? Sanchez? Silva? Smith? Sterrett? Thomas? Wegman? Winnicki? Passes.
Okay, motion passes. We do have a need for executive session today, so may I have a motion and a second to go into executive session to discuss pending litigation, personnel, and settlement of claims. So moved by Ms. Sterrett, second by Mr. Sanchez. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Good. Now that we're back in open session, on Resolution 17408, may I have a motion and a second? So moved by Ms. Auger, second by Ms. Allen. And the clerk will call the roll.
Ellen? Augur? Ferrero? Dahl? Davis? Fraz? Gillum? Hernandez? Hoshite? Ishmael? Kenyon? Kazarek? Leonard? Lewis? Martin? Molina? Sanchez? Silva? Smith? Sterrett? Thomas? Wegman? Winnicki? Passes.
Okay, so the motion passes. Do we have any speakers on non-agenda items? If not, may I have a motion and a second to adjourn? Motion's made by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Gillum. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. So Kane County Board meeting is adjourned until Tuesday, January 9th, 2017, 9:45.